for joining us for our first tennis interview of the season, I guess we could say.
Happy to be here.
Tell us a little bit about how the season's gone so far.
So this is our second season with the boys, so it's great because we kind of have a starting point, which was last year, so it's nice to see what that growth looks like. We are a team that is exclusively middle school, so that is a new challenge for us, considering we are varsity athletes that are middle school and playing, for some of their cases, their first or second year.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, but we did go 2-4 with Hillcrest, which is a 4A school, so we are happy to see that improvement. Last year we didn't win any matches where we won 2 matches within there, so seeing that growth already is awesome. And then we are going to start today our first region play.
Awesome. Who do you play today?
We play Chapman, and they're pretty tough in our region. They won the region last year, so we'll see, because they were a little senior heavy, so we'll see what they've got this year and how we perform.
What is coaching tennis like?
Coaching an individual sport in general is very different than a team atmosphere, because you are coaching both each player has their own opponent. So you're coaching against their specific opponents, as well as those individual athletes and how they would perform or line up against those athletes. So of course you're going to work on strategy and things like that. But tennis is also a sport where we don't watch film. I leave it up to the players to really kind of reflect on who they play, since we play everybody twice, and they create what I consider a notebook about their opponents. So that way they have some idea of what they're going to face, so that we can have better strategies and we can better strategize when we play the same players over and over again. So yeah, it's very individual minded.
Can you describe your coaching style?
I would say I set very high expectations. In my opinion, nobody rises to low expectations. But my big focuses as a coach would be footwork, because it doesn't matter how pretty your stroke is. If you can't get to the ball, it doesn't matter, right? You've got to be able to get there and perform. So footwork is a big one. That's a very big fundamental skill that I work very hard on. In addition, the mental game. I am of the belief that in the sport of tennis, when you show up, you have an opportunity to beat anybody at any point in time. People have good days, people have bad days. There are plenty of people that as an athlete I played that I had no business beating, and there are plenty of players that beat me that had no business beating me. So we hit the mental game exceptionally hard. And so I would say that's a big focal point for me as a coach as well.
Mm-hmm. What made you choose tennis?
I had a friend in first grade that was like, hey, do you want to take tennis lessons with me? And I was like, sure, I would love to. She quit after a few weeks, and I stuck with it since I was 6 years old. I loved it. I also was a competitive swimmer growing up, so both of the sports that I played for the bulk of my life were individual sports. Not that I didn't like team sports, because I played volleyball for a while and I loved it, but I'm also not designed for contact sports, not because I'm afraid of it, but because I would have probably really had some physical things to say to my opponents. So it was really good that I played individual sports growing up. Yeah.
Who are you looking forward to playing most this season?
Our girls team got their first win against Union, and I think our boys team have a really good opportunity there. So I would say Union and both Broome are some strong opportunities for us to really showcase our improvement and, hopefully capture that first win as a boys team.
What drives you to keep on going with tennis?
It's been a part of my life for such a long time, but in my opinion, tennis is one of the greatest examples of a sport that is an absolute microcosm of life. You are going to go through so many challenges on a court that you would also see and experience in life. This ability that you keep getting knocked down or you can't find a way to win, but you have to create that solution. And that so much is life. The same thing goes of what variables you can control and what you can't control, and how we have to give energy to those things. For example, we can't control the weather, but if we sit there and we think, man, this weather's terrible, like today is gonna be real cold. So if all you're thinking about is that cold, then that's where your focus and energy is. It's not like your opponent is playing in warm, lovely tropical weather. So it's about how you choose to focus and what you choose to focus on, and that is really spectacular about tennis, is because there's so many individual minded tasks that you get to face and defeat. Mm-hmm.
What inspired
inspired you to start coaching tennis?
I have always viewed myself, I would say, so when I was a freshman in high school, I played varsity tennis in California, and halfway through my season, they thought I broke my back in several places. I was going through some extreme pain, and it took a long time to get a diagnosis. And what it ended up being was just kind of like a muscular issue. However, I was benched, and that changed my complete approach to the game. Even though I was injured, I went to every match that there was and every practice that I could, and saw the role of the game from a different direction, which is as a coach, as a viewer. And I realized that I still added value to my team from the sideline because I was seeing things that I would never have seen while I was playing. And so having that opportunity allowed me to become a better athlete and also a better coach and an interest in coaching, because I was like, wow, I really do have a skill in being able to dissect a game, being able to look at an opponent and being like, ooh, they don't like that shot. That's the one we need to keep hitting. Or, hey, they don't have very good movement. We need to make sure that we are moving these opponents. And so I started to become somebody that was essentially an extra set of eyes to the coaches, and I would report to them and they would communicate those things to the players while they were playing. And so I realized how much value coaching adds, both as a player and, that role itself.
How do you motivate your players?
I would say that in an individual type sport, that motivation is often there because you're the only one that's out there. There's nowhere to hide, there's no substitutions. So on a whole, you have to be a very motivated individual to play an individual-based sport, especially one like tennis. You can have your good days and you can have your bad days, but at the same time, creating a team atmosphere is another way in which I motivate, that everybody is still a part of the puzzle, that even if one of us wins, we're still not winning the match. So I would say, I would motivate, or my motivation style is through mental preparation. I am working to create confidence in my athletes. And when you show up confident, you tend to be motivated because you want to perform based off of all of the work that you have put in, mentally, physically, tactfully, yes, tactically, there it is, okay? So yeah, any of those ways. And it's really awesome as a player, like once you see yourself have those successes, that motivation tends to just generate itself moving forward. Yeah.
Do you have a question? How do you prepare for a match?
Usually we work on drills and skills that I feel that particular team might demonstrate more than, say, another team. And often, too, once we've played a match, I always ask my players to reflect on, hey, what went well in your match and what do you want to work on? And those tend to drive how we prep and how we prepare. But beyond what we specifically do on court, I give my athletes tremendous reminders about hydrating, making sure that they are packing and preparing their bags the night before so they are not forgetting something that is important to them in order for them to feel confident and successful on court. And then I talk to them about what they need to be eating for breakfast, what they need to have for lunch, and we have parents that provide snacks that really help to ensure that we have the energy that we need to. So in a way, we are essentially checking things off of a list so that when we show up, we are confident and prepared.
I want to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
I want to talk to you a little bit about this event that you have coming up.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Okay, so as a young athlete, when we talk about things like motivation and sort of this will to win, I was an athlete that just really had it. I would do whatever I needed to do to win. Now, granted, that doesn't mean I was cheating or doing a Tanya Harding moment or, where I'm taking a player out or anything like that. But for me, I was going to try everything I possibly could that I had in my repertoire to win a match. And so as I grew to be a coach, I realized that this skill of mental toughness was not necessarily something that I had to learn as a student of the game. It was really something that was just instilled in me. And so I reached out to somebody who was a mental toughness coach. And her name is Tammy Matheny. And she worked with teams that I coached at Burns for over a decade. And her and I have forged this friendship. And she has since grown her business. And it has really been the component, the mental game has really been the component that I have grown the most in as a coach. And one of the things that I've realized that my athletes were needing is a multi-step warm-up. That, a lot of times we'll get out there, we'll start stretching, we'll start doing our reps, we'll do our dynamic stretches, we'll hit, we'll throw if you're, a sport where you're having to throw. We're doing those things to warm up our bodies, but we very seldomly are warming up our mind. And it's usually those that are prepared when that game or event starts that tend to be the most successful. And I think that if any of you in here are athletes, or those that you're watching that are athletes, you'll realize that those first, few innings, or that first quarter, or that first half a set really sets a tone for how you are going to then perform. If you're put on the advantage, you're in the lead, you are going to feel different than if you are having to play from behind. And so this book that Tammy and I have co-authored, which is releasing tomorrow, is called The Focused Athlete. And it is a series of activities that are sports related, but are getting you mentally prepared. So a lot of times when we, talk about like, hey, get your mind right, get your mind ready, a lot of athletes don't know what that means, or don't know what steps they need to take. Or sometimes we have athletes where their mind is too loud. They're thinking too much, and they need to quiet out that noise. And so what we created is essentially an activity book that allows you to quiet your mind, but also stay on track and engaged for the task at hand. So again, they're all sort of sports-related activities that vary in length, or kind of they're different types to see, what it is that you like, what sort of activities you would be successful with. And so we've got a webinar that's going to be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock if you wanted to tune into something like that. And we're going to introduce our book. We've got some prizes and some important info to kind of distill with our book. And it's going to be available tomorrow. So we're really excited about this project. I have started utilizing a lot of these activities with my boys' tennis team and got feedback from them. And so far the response has been really positive, and they find them to be very helpful and a good component to add into a mental warm-up that you may or may not already be doing.
So tell everybody where they can find more information on that if they're interested.
The MVP website, the Instagram that MVP Athletics is going to have some information about that. I will also post on The Focused Athlete. So if you have Instagram, you can follow at The Focused Athlete. There will be information as well as a link to join that webinar for those of you that are interested. It is, I promise, something that's worthwhile and truly an important component, because mental toughness doesn't just prepare you as an athlete. Mental toughness prepares you for life. So this is truly a life skill that we always hope our athletes achieve, but sometimes if we're not teaching those things in isolation, those are sometimes lost. So check out at The Focused Athlete on Instagram, or the Focused Athlete page on Facebook. You can find either one of those things. I also recommend Tammy Bethany Coaching. That's TAMIMATHENY Coaching, and you will find plenty of information about both of these things.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in today. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Okay.
Okay. That's it.
Awesome. Thank